Welcome to the Way Too Indiecast, the official podcast of way2indie.com. I'm Bernard, a writer at Way Too Indie, and joining me today are Dustin Jancic.
Hello.
He's the editor-in-chief, or boss man. I don't know what your real title is, Dustin, of Way Too Indie, and Zach Shevich, writer at Way Too Indie, and also host of the Multiplex YouTube channel.
Yes, both of those things.
Both of those things. Anything more, Zach? You've got other stuff going on, right?
Occasional other websites, but Way Too Indie's closest to my heart.
Closest to all of our hearts, and Way Too Indie. This is a celebratory episode because we are celebrating this week 5 years, our 5-year anniversary. It's been one hell of a ride. I've only been here a couple of years, but Dustin, you've been here from the start. This is really exciting. We've got a lot of cool content coming up this week. Want to run some of that stuff down, Dustin? We've got a lot of special stuff.
Yeah, we've been working for last couple months, 2 months or so, I think, on our best of the decade so far. It just kind of works that our 5-year anniversary came in midway through a decade. So we're kind of going back and looking at the best films from 2010 till now, 2015. So yeah, we're going to have that feature all of next week, or this week, now you're listening to it. So we're going to release 10 films a day on that list. Monday, we'll do our 50 through 41, so just be on the lookout for that. And then basically all month long, and we're kind of doing a celebration for the whole month, since we don't really know what date we just know sometime in March, so we're just kind of celebrating the whole month. So we're actually going to do best of the decade for TV as well as albums and songs. So we're just kind of doing the whole month. We're doing a bunch of features and trying to put out a bunch of content to sort of celebrate our anniversary.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. I know we've all had a lot of fun kind of working on these special features for the month, but to kind of have some more fun and get into the mood of the 5-year anniversary, let's play a game. How about we play a little game? I know, Dustin, you've got something up your sleeve.
Yeah. Actually, CJ, another writer for the site, he suggested it, but it's called Name 5. So what I'll do is I'll give you each a topic in which you'll have 15 seconds to name 5 things about it. So, for example, Bernard, I might say, name 5 Guardians of the Galaxy characters. And then, Zach, I will give you a different topic to name 5 things about. If you both end up naming 5 things under 15 seconds, I'll have a bonus tiebreaker round. But no cheating. So don't be pulling up IMDb or anything like that, although I suspect 15 minutes isn't a lot of time.
15 seconds,
15 seconds is not a long time.
I think we got it.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be embarrassed. Zach's probably going to wipe the floor with me, but let's do it anyways.
Okay. All right, I'll start with you, Bernard, okay?
Oh, shit.
So, name 5 films that Mark Duplass has been in. Start now.
Oh, no. I just saw.
You just reviewed one.
I know. I just reviewed. What the fuck was it called? He was in The One I Love.
Yep, that's one.
Oh no! What was the one I just reviewed? I just wrote about it the other day.
Man.
No.
Time's up.
All right, that was 15.
You don't even remember the last.
Oh God! Well, I just wrote about it. You got me all nervous. I thought this was gonna be fun. What is this? This is torture for me. This is just an undressing.
The Lazarus Effect.
Fuck me.
A review that you just had up.
I just wrote it. Please, everyone, read that review. You might be able to kind of tell why I wasn't able to remember the name of the movie by reading that review.
It wasn't a memorable film, it sounds like.
I would say it's the opposite of memorable.
Yes. Now, Zach.
Pressure's off a little bit.
The pressure's off a little bit. You have 15 seconds. I guess 15 seconds really isn't a long time, but
yeah.
All right. Are you ready, Zach?
I hope so.
Okay. Name 5 Oscar Best Picture winners since 2005. And begin.
The artist, what just won? Birdman.
2.
Argo.
3.
Slumdog? I think that happened in Departed.
4. Oh, yes, I will give you that. I think you just finished it in 15. Nice.
Son of a bitch.
Oh man, yeah, that was good. You said The Departed, right? That was your fifth answer?
Yes.
Yes, you had it just underneath the wire. Good job. Zach wins the Name 5 game.
That's it?
That's it.
That's the only chance I get.
I figured you'd both get it right and we'd go for a tiebreaker round. So, yeah, I thought that'd be hard. I was going to just do Best Picture winners, but then I'm like, let's keep on the 5, and I'll say since 2005, and I threw a little wrench in there. And I don't know, I thought that would be a little more difficult, but Zach?
I guess I've been doing a little bit too much writing about the Oscars this month. So.
Yeah, we've done a lot of Oscar features.
You know, I shouldn't have gotten stuck on that damn Lazarus movie.
You know, that was probably your downfall.
That was my because I 15 seconds is not as long as it sounds.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? Let's just talk about the story of the site for a little bit, because you know we've all kind of invested a lot in this website, but no more than Dustin. You're the founder of the site, the owner of the site. Talk about bring us to the beginning and talk about the site.
Well, you know, it was crazy because it was just like it was a one-man blog. You know, it's just me. It was a way for me to sort of express my love for independent films, the films that I love to watch and talk about. And, you know, I had a bunch of friends ask me, you know, kind of what my thoughts were on films, and they sort of knew I was this movie buff, but it sort of began as an outlet for me to say, just a blog, you know, to say, hey, check out my website, you know, check out what my thoughts were on these films. And I love to review and talk about films. So it was really just an outlet, I guess, for me initially at the very beginning. And that was about it. And then it really quickly turned into something, obviously, a lot more. I had a few more writers interested, a few more friends. It was more just like people I knew that were like, hey, you know, I really like your blog. You know, I'd love to write on it too. So it kind of just expanded, you know, within the first year or so that way, just a lot of people that I happen to know. And then, yeah, it just, over the years, it's getting more people involved, and it kind of just snowballed into what it is today. And like you said, we're still very young, and we still have a lot more to go, but it's kind of crazy to look back on it now.
Is there any story behind the name? Was it something that kind of came to you? Because I know I've talked to some other film writers, and they seem to really enjoy the name of the site particularly.
Not really. It was actually, it wasn't just me. There was one other buddy of mine that sort of, we were both really into movies, and it was actually going to be a site for both of us to sort of write about. So it wasn't like just me, but it turned out he didn't end up wanting to do it. But you know, we watched a lot of movies together, and so I was trying to play off the two, like the number 2. Because I thought it was gonna be like 2 guys, you know, reviewing stuff, or 2 guys talking about stuff. So it was gonna be kind of a play on that, and you know, it just kind of evolved from there. So I guess that's where it started. And I wanted the word indie in there, so I was kind of just playing off that word.
Zach, how did you get involved? You got involved like around when I did, right?
I think I actually got involved later on than you. I was first writing for the site, I think, in April of 2014. Shortly after the Tribeca Film Festival had ended, I heard about Way Too Indie through some of their coverage and reached out to Dustin. And, you know, the site's been a welcoming, open place, and it's a great vehicle for getting in any kind of entertainment coverage we have. You know, we do news and op-eds and reviews, and we have movies and music already, and now we're starting to do a little bit of TV coverage. But it's been fun to just explore all the different stuff that's out there. And by the time I ended up at Way Too Indie, we were a bi-coastal website. Bernard, when did you first start writing for Way Too Indie?
Oh, well, you know what? Like, I kind of have like a semi story about how I came here. Yeah, let's hear my story. So the site's really special to me. I was years ago, before I joined the site, I was a professional baker. I baked like bread and cupcakes and all this stuff, and I loved it. Like, I was in the kitchen working my ass off, like graveyard shifts, like midnight to like 1 p.m. the next day, like crazy. Workaholic kind of guy. And then after a few years of doing that, it took a toll on my body. And one day, early in the morning while I was making pastries, I just felt really weird, and my arm like kind of got tingly, and I went to the hospital, and long story short, turns out I had a mini stroke my blood pressure was like 210 over like 120 or something like that. Yeah, I was on the brink. Like I was it was a big it was the hardest thing I've ever done. Long story short, but after that, I also, as a result of that, the doctors discovered that I had kidney disease as well, chronic kidney disease. So basically, what that led to is that I had to retire as a baker. I couldn't take that lifestyle anymore. It's really hard. By the way, as a side note, anyone who tells you that or who thinks that baking is an easy job, like fuck off. It's the hardest shit in the world. It's so hard. But anyways. I was basically I had been stricken by this anxiety problem. I had a terrible anxiety. I'd have panic attacks every day. It was just debilitating. I couldn't work anymore. I would just stay home. My wife would go to work. I'd stay at our apartment and just like kind of lay on the floor all day in a fetal position, not able to do anything, and then go to sleep. For anyone who hasn't had a panic attack, it just kind of feels like you're – you know that feeling when that fight or flight feeling when you think you're gonna die, so you run.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that all day. Pretty much, you just think you're gonna die.
God, that sounds like the worst.
It was the worst. It was the hardest period of my life. And then after a while, I just couldn't take it anymore. I at that time, around that time, a few years ago, Hulu had just acquired the Criterion Collection.
Oh.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. So I started watching all these Criterion movies. The Passion of Joan of Arc, you know, a bunch of Bresson movies.
I remember, when you came to me, you came to me.
Yeah, when we hooked up, I gave you a review of like a Carl Dreyer film or something.
Yeah, or Seventh Seal or something. I can't remember.
So I kind of I started to feel better. Right? Like my anxiety started to get a little better. I could actually function because I was enjoying watching these films, like the best films in the world, the Criterion Collection I love so much. Yeah. And so I started my own like little blog or whatever on movies as well. It was a piece of shit compared to Way Too Indie, but I got to writing on there and I started to feel better. And then I hooked up with you, Dustin. Mm-hmm. And then I started writing for Way Too Indie. And since then, my panic attacks have died down considerably. I'm going to I live by San Francisco. I go into San Francisco almost like, kind of like to work, and I watch screenings, I do interviews, and it's really honestly like movies and Way Too Indie really, I think I can honestly say saved my life in a way.
Wow.
Like I was nothing for a while. Like I wasn't doing anything. I was having terrible days every day. And now I'm like a functioning dude again who loves what he does. I love working on this website with you guys. It's just what I like about this website is that we just kind of like a bunch of buddies, like we're not, we don't claim to be these like really super educated film critics who, are snobs and know everything about movies. We don't know everything about movies, but we love movies, especially independent movies. We love supporting the independent film community. And it's a pleasure for me to be a part of the site.
You lost name 5, but you won the backstories.
Yeah, I know. I redeemed myself.
Totally redeemed yourself with that right there. Zach alluded to it, but he's totally right. We started off with sort of just doing film reviews, and we eventually, over the years, we started doing news. We started doing interviews, which Bernard, you do a lot of those. Most of interviews are from you. We do a lot of op-eds, and we've expanded into music, and like Zach said, we're thinking about expanding into TV. So we've really have come a long way. The one thing that we haven't lost and we haven't changed is our love and our eye and our voice when it comes to independent cinema, music. That's the cool part, is like we've been able to keep that.
That'll always be our thing.
Yeah,
you see a lot of sites stressing their coverage of whatever new Marvel film is out or whatever new Will Smith movie is out, and we will cover those because sometimes those movies turn out to be interesting and they're worth covering. But
we're film lovers in general. We don't only love independent film. We don't want to get that that message across. We love all film, but I think we do indie films a disservice if we only cover them, because I think to put some I just covered a film about like dogs and prison inmates, which was like that probably the kind of like lowest profile film I've covered in a while. But I that same day I think I posted like a review of some blockbuster film, like like right next to it, and they're on our homepage. They were right next to each other. You know what I mean?
Like, you wouldn't see that very often,
Yeah, because these films deserve just as much attention as like Birdman or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you look at our best of last year list, and we have Under the Skin next to the Lego Movie, next to Whiplash, next to Grand Budapest, next to Winter Sleep. It's a nice mix. We've had Guardians on our lists and stuff like that, so we get a great variety on the site of voices and opinions.
But bringing independent films and filmmakers up to the same level as far as coverage, and actually emphasizing the indie is kind of, I think, what I find most pride in as far as being involved in the site. So yeah, everybody listening, thank you so much for listening. If you are, we are the three of us and everyone else at Way Too Indie is super excited for what the future holds for the website. We look forward to bringing you more coverage of mainstream films, TV, music, and especially independent films. After our short break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some of the films we missed in 2014, the three of us. There are some big ones. I know the one that I missed was pretty crazy. So we'll see you after the break. You're listening to the Way Too Indiecast, the official podcast of WayTooIndie.com, where you'll find film news, reviews, and interviews with an emphasis on indie. Follow us on Twitter at Way Too Indie and like us on Facebook. Hey guys, welcome back here to the Way Too Indie podcast. Now that we've gotten the 5-year anniversary celebration out of the way, we're going to be catching up in 2015 on 2014 films that we may have missed. I know the Oscars just happened, and in the wake of the Oscars, a lot of people try to catch up on big films that they may have missed in 2014. So I'm gonna give the reins to Zach now, because Zach has been doing a lot of catching up recently, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's also been snowing quite a bit here in on the East Coast, so it hasn't been easy to get out into theaters, check out what's new. Not that there's a whole lot of options between Jupiter Ascending and 50 Shades of Grey. But yeah, I think a lot of people in our world like to at least be knowledgeable about what's nominated for the Oscars. So I made sure to catch up with a lot of the nominees, not just in Best Picture, where, I saw Selma, even some of the smaller categories nominees from animated movies like Big Hero 6 to the Box Trolls, and then the documentaries like Finding Vivian Maier, which is available, I believe, on Showtime on demand, and then Virunga, which is a Netflix streaming movie. So I don't know if you guys got a chance to catch up with any of these movies or any of the other Oscar nominees.
I'm a part of a member of the San Francisco Film Critics Circle for some reason, by some miracle, and this was my first year voting for them for a year under award. So I actually caught most of those before the year was up. So I didn't really have to catch up on much, except I still have yet to catch up on Nightcrawler. I still haven't seen that.
I can't believe that.
That's the common reaction. That's the common reaction I get when I say that. Yeah. But yeah, it just hasn't been like readily available for me. There wasn't a screener or anything. So. But
yeah, now that's one of the many 2014 movies that's showing up on video on demand now. So it's obviously something you can catch up on. That was our second favorite movie of 2014 on Way Too Indie.
Yeah, I believe it was. It's it was really high up there. If it wasn't 2, it was like 3 or something like that. But totally worth seeing. Like, I thought it was. It was amazing. When I
plan on it.
We saw it in Toronto. Zach, did you see it there too?
Yes, I got to see it in Toronto.
Yeah, that was awesome. It was one of the best films that I had seen there. So I was super pumped that it even got an Oscar nomination. I believe the only one it did end up getting, though, was Best Original Screenplay. But even to get an Oscar nomination is a huge win for that film. That's sort of the smaller film. It was a first-time filmmaker, Dan Gilroy. Jake Gyllenhaal was awesome in it, and so was Rene Russo. But I loved it. I don't know about you, Zach.
Yeah, that was in my top 3 of the year. I was a huge fan of that movie, so I was happy to see it get some love. It got a lot of love at the Independent Spirit Awards, more than at the Oscars.
Totally. And yeah, you're right. I think that's one that like a lot of people kind of flew under the radar a little bit. If you talk to like most people, that one, and I feel like and Whiplash, not that it flew under the radar, but people I think are now, since it got a lot of awards at the Oscars, I think the common audience is really seeking out that film, which is I believe that's releasing very shortly too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably expanding again, but it's definitely out on DVD already. So it's definitely, you can catch it somewhere. It's
available.
Yeah, that was the one that made the least amount of money at the box office out of all of the Best Picture nominees. But some of the Oscar-nominated ones that I caught up on that I thought were pretty dreadful, though, were Unbroken, and even worse than that, the Judge, which was just so lifeless and so full of cliches. It does that thing where it portrays a character having a revelation by having the sound in the movie just drop out, and you just have that muted effect on everyone's voice. It does that about 3 or 4 times over the course of the movie, so that one I found pretty inept.
And that one just had a Best Supporting Actor nomination, right, for Robert Duvall. That was the only award. Yeah,
it was.
You know, one that I was kind of, if we're talking about sort of these small Oscar-nominated films. Not one that I didn't like, because Judge I don't think did very well for on most people's accounts, but I thought Wild was a very underrated film.
Me too.
You know, he made a big splash a couple years ago with Dallas Buyers Club, where it won Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars. But it kind of flew underneath a lot of people's radar, and I don't know if since it didn't win anything, I don't know if the Oscars really highlighted it or made it sort of more known. But Reese Witherspoon did get a nomination for Best Actress for it, and I was super glad that she did.
And I'm a bit surprised that her nomination, and not just a courtesy nomination, because she was really good in the movie, didn't, bring up a little more buzz for the movie and didn't get people to see it more. Moving on from the Oscar-nominated movies that were in theaters or are coming to VOD or DVD, one movie that came out just on the tail end of 2014, officially in theaters on December 31st, I believe, was A Most Violent Year. And, some of us are the lucky few who get advanced access because of our press status, but it's a huge shame that it got overlooked by a lot of people, because I thought that was one of the better films from 2014 that just sort of didn't play much of a role in people's year-end lists or award season talk.
Yeah, it came out so late in the year that it just made that 31st deadline for sort of these award season cutoffs and deadlines.
Yeah, for me, I think this might be his best film yet, and I don't want to say that this is top of the year or a minor classic or anything like that. But I do think it represents a really big step for Chandor, and it's a really intriguing movie that has amazing performances. Oscar Isaac getting completely overlooked again, and Jessica Chastain in one of her best roles. For me, this plays out a little bit like The Godfather without guns, and obviously it's not quite as, impactful or unique as that movie was in its time, but I was pretty transfixed by it. It's definitely, like I said, my favorite of J.C. Chandor's work.
I mean, it might be a grower, that I might revisit that film. I wouldn't be surprised if I revisited that film this year, like later this year, and I liked it more. It's a dense film, and there's a lot of nuance in there, and the tone is really great. The performances are really good. So yeah, I could see myself liking it more. Although I really did like it. I think I reviewed it for the site and gave it a pretty good score.
Yeah. One film that I know that a lot of people are starting to catch up on as well, especially since the Oscars, is Wild Tales. Let's talk about that.
Fuck
film.
Yeah.
Zach, did you see that recently? Because this was another film that I saw in Toronto. So for me, it's been a while since I've seen it. But
I mean, yeah, I got to see it more recently in New York, and I'm so glad I did. You look at the other films that got nominated for Best Foreign Film, and they're pretty down. They're pretty somber. They don't have this energy that Wild Tales has, and I still preferred Ida slightly to Wild Tales, but it's so absorbing, and just the structure of it is really fun. I think it's really well written. That middle sequence with the car fight that I don't want to give away too much of, it is just
fantastic.
It's a better action scene than most action scenes from
and it's
action
so funny
movies last
too.
year.
Like it's
hilarious.
It's like Looney Tunes. You know, it's like adult Looney Tunes.
Absolutely.
And I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people just because, you know, so on one hand you have it that it is a foreign film that doesn't always get the broadest appeal, but I think what's going to help the film is it is broken down in an episodic way where it's very short.
Yeah.
You know, it's like 10-minute stories, like 4 of them or so, I believe, and it's so much fun, like you said, so much energy, and I keep championing it. People ask me about it, I'm just like, see it when you get the chance to, because it's one that's like hard to hate. It's just so much fun.
I feel like you could hate 3 of the stories and still enjoy it overall because the other 3 are so strong, you know. It's an easy movie to watch because, you know, one story will end within 10 minutes and then you're on to the next.
Yeah, it never feels like it drags on. I mean, it's not long enough. There's not a story in there that's long enough for it to be like, oh gosh, you know, like I'm not really into this. And if you are, and if it's not like you said, if you're not a fan of like one of the segments, it's over in like 10 minutes. So
yeah,
it's so brisk and so quick, and it's just so much fun. So that's one that's coming out, I believe, soon, right?
I think it's expanding. I know it's in theaters in New York at least, so you can definitely check that on Sony Picture Classics website. I have a random small question for the two of you because I didn't understand this in context, and I thought it was pretty hilarious once the credits came up. In the opening sequence, minor spoilers for the first 5 minutes of the movie, just be forewarned, we have the plane sequence, and the plane flies towards the ground towards this old couple.
Yeah.
Did either of you know who that old couple was supposed to be?
Not at the time. No.
Not at the time? Okay, I wonder.
I don't know now.
So the credits come up, and I guess this is the bigger spoiler, but not really, and they are credited as Pasternak's mother and Pasternak's father. And I wonder if that's just a punchline meant for the credits, because that to me was one of the funniest jokes in the movie.
Yeah. It's funny. I watched your review of the movie on Multiplex, Zach, and that's when I looked it up. I did not know, like even when the credits rolled, and I watched your review.
That's just like this minor detail that works so well for that story. I did see the live action shorts though.
Yeah,
for what it's worth. And I thought they were fairly entertaining, not quite as entertaining as I found them in years past. Yeah. A couple of them were better than others, particularly this one film, Butterlamp. It was a little slow, a little dry.
You didn't like that film? Oh my god, that was the worst of the bunch.
I thought it was so interesting. I thought it was very subtle, and just like when you talk about these short movies, you get a chance to do something that you're not able to do in a longer format. I thought that was like the ideal example of, you know, just doing something unique with your different limitations.
Totally.
Almost.
It couldn't have been done in a full-length film, like you said. It was all right, but I was bored, and I thought there was 2 standouts. Aya, if that's how you pronounce it, or Aya, and the phone call, which the phone call won. And I kind of, you can kind of tell that one was a tearjerker. It was really well done. It reminded me of a Hitchcock film a little bit. It was very suspenseful, just showed the clock a lot of times. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. It really kept me on the edge of the seat.
It was definitely not upset with the phone calls win. It's a well-made movie.
Totally.
Also the only one with celebrities, which I'm sure doesn't hurt its cause. So just wrapping up our 2014 catch-up in 2015, Bernard, what's a movie that came out last year that you think maybe people should pay a little attention to catch up on now?
You know what, man? I was really kind of sad that Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Is it Dawn or Rise?
It's Dawn.
It's Dawn. Okay. I always get them confused. But Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, was a really terrific movie. It's probably, I don't know if it's my favorite blockbuster of last year, but it's up there in the top 2. You know, not the most unconventional story, but it tells a classic story in a very good way. It's well executed.
Great. Dustin, do you have any recommendations?
I guess going with the whole visual side of things, I'll segue in. I think Interstellar is a film that we haven't talked about and that a lot of people sort of didn't see in 2014. I think a lot of people were excited about it, and then it kind of just instantly fell flat. I think it got a little undervalued. So if you haven't seen it, or maybe if you have seen it, definitely check out Interstellar. See it on the biggest screen you possibly can, because like Gravity last year, it's such a cinematic visual display that you need to see it, and then the score behind it is so well done.
Yeah, you can find my review on the site of that movie. I ended up recommending it that everyone see it, but I recommended it solely on the spectacle of it. I thought I wasn't, the story they were telling wasn't, I thought it was a little incoherent, but as far as if you can see it in a great environment, like either in a theater or you have a great home entertainment system,
right?
It's spectacular. Like it's really jaw dropping. So I would feel sad for you if you missed seeing the visuals they put together.
Well, I think both of those are definitely two of the better blockbusters we got last year.
Yeah.
That especially of the non-Marvel variety. Sort of going with a different type of movie. The Overnighters just popped up on Netflix Instant. I know
that was
CJ had a great interview with the director Jesse Moss up on our website. So hopefully people can go check that out. But The Overnighters is this documentary that takes place in this North Dakotan town that is seeing this boon in employment from fracking jobs, oil fracking. And all these people are coming to this town looking for work, but not necessarily knowing where they're going to stay or having any place to stay. So the town's pastor makes the decision to shelter a lot of these people. It becomes this really fascinating character study of this man who has such kindness for people around him, but is really remarkable. So that's on Netflix Instant now. Definitely worth catching up on.
Totally recommend seeing that one. It's so awesome. It's a modern day gold rush story. You gotta see it.
Totally.
It's true life, and it's amazing. Where it goes is not expected. I don't think even the filmmaker expected it.
Very powerful ending.
Yep. It is totally worth seeking out.
All right. Well, I've got a screener of that one sitting on my coffee table. I'll probably check that out tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely
need to do that.
Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's show, guys. Dustin, where can we find you on social media?
Find me on Twitter at DJansick. That's DJANSICK.
And Zach?
You can find me on Twitter at Zshevich. That's ZSHE, V for Vendetta, ICH, or on YouTube at youtube.com/multiplexshow.
You can find me at BJ_Boo on Twitter. And you can find us at Way Too Indie on Twitter at Way Too Indie. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. What else, guys? I think that's everywhere they can find us. And of course, the main place you want to go is waytooindie.com. We look forward to seeing you there. Have a great day.